Jake Miller sat in the captain's chair of his cargo ship, watching the stars through the main window. His ship, the Liberty's Edge, was not much to look at. It was old, patched up in many places, and made strange noises when it flew too fast. But it was his ship, and it had carried him and his crew safely through many dangerous places in the galaxy. The ship carried 4 humans total. Lisa Park was his pilot, a young woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind. She could fly anything with wings or engines. Sam Torres worked as their engineer, keeping their old ship running when it should have broken down years ago. Amy Foster was their medic, though she also helped with cargo and repairs when needed. They were heading to a small trading station near the edge of Valdoran Empire space. The Empire was huge, covering thousands of star systems. Humans were allowed to trade and work in Empire space, but they were not considered important. Most alien species in the Empire looked down on humans as weak and primitive. Jake did not care what aliens thought about humans. He had a job to do and bills to pay. His crew trusted him to keep them safe and fed. That was enough responsibility for any man. Lisa called out from her pilot seat. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange signals ahead. Looks like weapons fire." Jake leaned forward in his chair. Weapons fire usually meant trouble, and trouble meant danger. But it might also mean someone needed help.
Can you tell who's fighting?
Sam looked up from his engineering station. "I'm seeing Imperial ship signatures, but also some unknown vessels." The Imperial ships looked damaged, Jake thought quickly. Imperial ships were usually well-armed and well-protected. If they were taking damage, whoever was attacking them had serious firepower. Smart captains would turn around and leave. Smart captains would not get involved in Empire business. Jake had never claimed to be smart. "Lisa, take us closer, but keep our distance and be ready to run if things go bad." Amy walked onto the bridge carrying her medical kit. She always seemed to know when trouble was coming. "What's the situation?" "Imperial ships under attack," Jake said. "We're going to take a look." As they got closer, the battle became clear on their screens. 3 rebel ships were attacking an Imperial transport. The transport was big but lightly armed. 2 Imperial fighters were trying to protect it, but one was already destroyed. The other fighter was badly damaged and falling behind. "There," Lisa pointed at her screen. "That transport is carrying VIP passengers. Look at the markings." Jake studied the symbols on the transport's hull. He was not an expert on Imperial politics, but those markings meant someone very important was on that ship. Someone worth killing according to the rebels who were attacking. The damaged Imperial fighter exploded as they watched. Now the rebels had only the transport to deal with. The big ship was slow and could not fight back effectively against 3 fast attack ships. "Captain," Amy said quietly, "there might be civilians on that transport." Jake knew what she was thinking. They all knew. The rebels would probably kill everyone on board once they disabled the ship. That was how these things usually went in the Empire's border regions. "Those rebels have us outgunned 3-1, Sam said from his station. "Our weapons are meant for scaring off pirates, not fighting a real battle." Lisa nodded. "And this isn't our fight. We're just human traders. Nobody expects us to get involved." Jake looked at his crew. They were right about everything. It was not their fight. They were outgunned. Nobody would blame them for leaving. The smart thing to do was turn around and pretend they had never seen anything. But Jake watched the rebel ships moving in for the kill, and he thought about the people trapped on that transport. Maybe they were soldiers. Maybe they were diplomats. Maybe they were just crew members trying to do their jobs like his own crew. He made his decision. "Lisa, take us in. Target their engines if you can." "Captain," Sam said, "are you sure about this?" "No," Jake said. "But we're doing it anyway. Amy, get your medical supplies ready. We might have wounded to treat." Lisa's hands moved across her controls. Their old cargo ship turned toward the battle, accelerating as fast as its ancient engines could manage. It was not a warship, but Sam had made some improvements to their weapons over the years. They might be able to help. The rebel ships noticed them coming. Jake could see them turning to face this new threat. They probably thought the Liberty's Edge was another Imperial ship coming to help. "Opening fire," Lisa announced. Their weapons were not powerful, but they were accurate. The first shot hit one rebel ship's engine, causing it to spin out of control. The second shot missed, but it got the rebels' attention. Now all 3 rebel ships were shooting at them instead of the transport. "Shields are taking damage," Sam called out. "I don't know how long they'll hold." Jake gripped his chair as the ship shook from enemy fire. This was the part where smart captains realized they had made a mistake and ran away. But running away now would not save the people on the transport. Lisa, get us between the rebels and the transport. Use our ship as a shield if you have to. That's crazy, Captain. I know. Do it anyway. The Liberty's Edge moved between the Imperial transport and the rebel attack ships. Now the rebels had to go through them to finish their attack. Jake's ship took hit after hit, but it stayed in position. Sam worked frantically to keep their systems running. Shields are almost gone. If they focus fire on us, we're dead. But something unexpected happened. The Imperial transport had used the time Jake bought them to get their own weapons working. Now they were firing back at the rebels. Caught between two ships, the rebel formation broke apart. One rebel ship tried to escape, but Lisa was ready for it. Her next shot hit its fuel tank and the ship exploded in a bright flash. The second rebel ship collided with debris from the first. Only one attacker remained, and it was damaged and alone. The remaining rebel ship sent a signal that meant surrender, then jumped away into hyperspace. Jake sat back in his chair, hardly believing they had survived. His old cargo ship had just fought off 3 military attack ships and won. His crew had followed his crazy plan without question, and somehow it had worked. The Imperial transport is hailing us, Lisa said. Jake opened the communication channel. A voice spoke in accented English. Unknown human vessel. This is Commander Vex of the Imperial Guard. You have saved the life of Princess Zara of House Valdor. The Empire will not forget this debt. Jake looked at his crew. Amy was smiling. Sam was shaking his head in disbelief. Lisa was already calculating their route to the nearest safe port. None of them knew that saving one alien princess would change everything. They had just wanted to help someone in trouble. It seemed like the right thing to do. The journey to the nearest Imperial station took 3 days. Princess Zara remained unconscious for the first day, recovering from injuries she had received during the attack. Amy worked around the clock to keep her stable, using both human medical techniques and the advanced alien medical supplies from the transport. Jake found himself checking on the princess often. She was tall for an alien, with pale blue skin and silver hair. Her clothes were made from materials Jake had never seen before, fabrics that seemed to shift color in the light. Even unconscious and injured, she looked important. Commander Vex, the princess's guard, had also come aboard the Liberty's Edge. His own transport was too damaged to continue safely. He was a large alien with dark skin and 4 arms, each ending in hands that could probably crush a human skull. He watched Jake and his crew with suspicious eyes. Why did you help us? Vex asked Jake on the second day. They were sitting in the ship's small common area, drinking coffee from Jake's personal supply. Jake shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. The right thing? Vex repeated the words slowly, as if they were in a foreign language. Your ship could have been destroyed. Your crew could have died. You gained nothing from helping us. We gained the knowledge that we saved lives, Jake said. Sometimes that's enough. Vex stared at him for a long moment. In the Empire, people do not risk themselves for strangers. Everyone serves their own interests first. Maybe that's why the Empire has so many problems, Jake said quietly. On the 3rd day, Princess Zara woke up. Amy was checking her vital signs when the princess's eyes opened. She looked around the medical bay with confusion, then focused on Amy's face. Where am I? The princess asked in perfect English. You're on my ship, Jake said, entering the medical bay. You were hurt in the attack. My medic has been taking care of you. Princess Zara tried to sit up, but Amy gently pushed her back down. You need to rest. You lost a lot of blood. The rebels, the princess said suddenly. Commander Vex? Is he alive? He's fine, Jake assured her. He's been worried about you. The princess relaxed slightly. You saved us. Commander Vex told me what you did. Why would humans risk their lives for aliens they have never met? Jake had been asked this question several times now. He was getting tired of explaining human nature to aliens who seemed incapable of understanding it, because it was the right thing to do. People were in danger. We could help. So we helped. But you are traitors, not soldiers. You had no duty to protect me. Sometimes duty and doing what's right are different things, Jake said. Princess Zara studied his face carefully. In the Empire, duty is everything. People serve the state, the hierarchy, their station in life. Personal choice is considered dangerous. Sounds like a lonely way to live, Amy said as she checked the princess's bandages. It is. the princess admitted, but it maintains order across thousands of worlds. Lisa's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain, we're approaching the Imperial Station. They're sending us docking instructions. Jake nodded. Understood. Take us in. Princess Zara grabbed his arm as he turned to leave. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Captain Miller, I must warn you. When we reach the station, everything will change. My mother will want to meet the humans who saved her daughter. Such meetings are rarely simple. Your mother? Empress Lyra, ruler of the Valderan Empire. The princess's expression was serious. She will be grateful, but she will also be suspicious. Humans are not well known in the core worlds. Your actions will be seen as both heroic and potentially dangerous. Jake frowned. Dangerous how? You have demonstrated that humans can act independently with courage and skill. That challenges certain assumptions about your species. Some people in the Empire will not like having their assumptions challenged. Commander Vex entered the medical bay. Princess, the station has confirmed your identity. They are preparing a full honor guard to receive you. And the humans? She asked. They will be treated as honored guests, Vex said, but his tone suggested this might not be entirely good news. The Imperial Station was massive, larger than some cities Jake had seen. Their small cargo ship looked like a toy next to the huge alien vessels docked there. As they approached their assigned berth, Jake could see rows of Imperial guards waiting for them. That's a lot of soldiers for a simple docking, Sam observed from his engineering station. They're not just soldiers, Princess Zara said. She had insisted on coming to the bridge despite Amy's protests. They're ceremonial guards. This is how the Empire honors heroes. Heroes, Lisa repeated. I never thought I'd be called a hero. You saved the life of an Imperial princess, Vex said. By law, that makes you heroes of the Empire. But it also makes you people of interest to Imperial intelligence. Jake did not like the sound of that. What does that mean exactly? It means your simple lives as traitors are over, Princess Zara said sadly. I am sorry for this. If I could change it, I would. The Liberty's Edge settled into its docking berth with a soft thud. Through the windows, Jake could see alien officials waiting to board their ship. Some wore military uniforms. Others wore robes that probably indicated high political rank. Princess, one of the officials called out as soon as the airlock opened. Empress Lyra has ordered your immediate transport to the capital. She wishes to see with her own eyes that you are safe. And the humans? Princess Zara asked. They will accompany you, of course. The Empress wishes to thank them personally for their service to the Empire. Jake looked at his crew. Amy appeared nervous but excited. Sam looked worried. Lisa seemed ready for whatever came next. They had all agreed to follow his lead when they joined his crew, and they had never questioned his decisions before. What do you think, Captain? Amy asked quietly. Jake thought about Princess Zara's warnings. He thought about the suspicious looks from Commander Vex. He thought about the massive Imperial station surrounding their tiny ship, and the even more massive empire beyond that. But he also thought about the princess herself, who had thanked them personally for saving her life. He thought about how she had warned them about potential dangers, even though doing so might have been considered disloyal to the Empire. I think we're about to find out what happens when ordinary people do extraordinary things, Jake said finally. Princess Zara smiled at him. The first real smile he had seen from her. Captain Miller, I believe you and your crew are anything but ordinary. As they prepared to leave their ship and enter the larger world of Imperial politics, Jake wondered if she was right. 3 days ago, they had been simple cargo haulers trying to make an honest living. Now they were heroes of a galactic empire, whether they wanted to be or not. The airlock doors opened and their old life ended. Their new life, whatever it might bring, was about to begin. The Imperial capital was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The city stretched as far as the eye could see, with buildings that reached into the clouds and flying vehicles moving in organized streams through the air. Everything was perfectly clean and precisely ordered, as if the entire city had been planned by architects who never slept. Their transport ship had brought them here directly from the station. Jake and his crew sat in comfortable seats looking out windows at the alien metropolis below. Princess Zara sat across from them, now dressed in formal imperial clothing. She looked every inch the royal daughter, but Jake could see worry in her eyes. The palace is ahead, she said, pointing to a massive structure in the center of the city. It was built from white stone that seemed to glow in the sunlight, with towers and domes that made it look like something from a fairy tale. That's where your mother lives? Amy asked, staring at the building. That's where the Empress rules the Empire, Princess Zara corrected gently. Home is a different concept when you're born to the throne. Commander Vex, who had remained silent during most of the journey, finally spoke. Princess, I should warn you. There have been communications from the capital during our travel. The court is very interested in these humans. What kind of interest? Jake asked. The kind that asks many questions, Vex said carefully. Their transport landed on a platform high up on the palace. Imperial guards in gleaming armor surrounded them as they stepped out. Jake noticed that while the guards were polite, they were also positioned to prevent any escape. This was protection, but it was also control. A tall alien in elaborate robes approached them. He had the same pale blue skin as Princess Zara, but his was marked with intricate tattoos that probably indicated his rank. Princess Zara, welcome home. Her Imperial Majesty awaits you in the throne room. Thank you, Minister Kane, the princess replied formally. Please ensure that Captain Miller and his crew are treated with the honor due to heroes of the Empire. Minister Kane's eyes moved over Jake and his crew, studying them like specimens in a laboratory. Of course, Princess. The Empress has given specific instructions regarding their treatment. They walked through corridors that were wider than the entire bridge of Jake's ship. The walls were covered with artwork and decorations that probably cost more than his ship was worth. Everything spoke of power, wealth, and control over vast resources. Other aliens they passed in the corridors stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others appeared suspicious or worried. Jake began to understand that humans were rare visitors to the Imperial capital. How many humans live in the Empire? He asked Princess Zara quietly. Perhaps a few million scattered across the border worlds, she replied. Most work as traders, mechanics, or laborers. Very few ever see the core worlds. And none have ever saved a princess before, Lisa added. No, Princess Zara said. None have. The throne room was enormous. The ceiling was so high that clouds seemed to form near the top. The walls were covered with banners representing different worlds in the Empire. At the far end of the room, on a raised platform, sat the Empress. Empress Lyra looked like an older version of her daughter. But where Princess Zara appeared kind and thoughtful, the Empress radiated pure authority. Her throne was carved from a single piece of black stone, and her robes were embedded with gems that caught the light like trapped stars. Approach, the Empress commanded. Her voice echoed through the vast space. They walked across the polished floor, their footsteps sounding loud in the silence. Jake felt like an insect being examined by a giant. When they reached the base of the platform, Princess Zara knelt gracefully. Commander Vex followed her example. Jake looked at his crew, uncertain what to do. They were not citizens of the Empire. Did they need to kneel to an alien ruler? Captain Miller, the Empress said, and her voice was surprisingly warm. You and your crew may stand. You are guests here, not subjects. Jake felt relief flow through him. Thank you, Your Majesty. The Empress studied them for a long moment. My daughter tells me you risked your lives to save hers. She says you asked for nothing in return, expected no reward, and acted simply because you believed it was right. That's correct, Your Majesty. Why? The Empress leaned forward in her throne. I have ruled this empire for 40 years. In that time, I have seen every possible motivation that drives intelligent beings. Greed, fear, ambition, duty, love, hatred. But I have rarely seen anyone risk everything for a stranger, simply because it was the right thing to do. Jake thought about his answer carefully. He was speaking to the ruler of a galactic empire, someone who controlled the lives of billions of beings. His words here could have consequences far beyond anything he could imagine. Your Majesty, he said finally, where I come from, we have a saying. With great power comes great responsibility. We had the power to help your daughter. That made it our responsibility to try. The Empress was quiet for several minutes. Around the throne room, court officials and advisors waited to hear her judgment. Princess Zara watched her mother with nervous eyes. Captain Miller, the Empress said at last, you present me with a problem. Jake's heart sank. Your Majesty? Your actions were heroic. By imperial law, you and your crew must be rewarded. But your motivations are troubling to some of my advisors. You acted independently without orders, without thought of personal gain. Such behavior challenges the order upon which this empire is built. Jake began to understand what Princess Zara had tried to warn him about. "Are we in trouble, Your Majesty?" "No," the Empress said firmly. "You are heroes, but you are also variables in an equation that has remained stable for centuries. Some people will want to study you. Others will want to control you. Still others will want to eliminate the uncertainty you represent." "Mother," Princess Zara said, speaking for the first time since they had entered the throne room, "they saved my life. Surely that earns them the right to return to their own lives in peace." "Peace," the Empress repeated. "Yes, that would be ideal. But peace is a luxury that empires cannot always afford." She stood up from her throne, and every person in the room bowed their heads, except for Jake and his crew. "Captain Miller, I hereby grant you and your crew the status of protected persons of the Empire. You will be provided with quarters in the palace, access to Imperial facilities, and compensation for your heroic actions." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Jake said, though something in her tone made him nervous. "However," the Empress continued, "for your own safety and the stability of the Empire, you will remain in the capital under Imperial protection until the current political situation stabilizes." Jake felt the trap closing around them. "How long might that take, Your Majesty?" The Empress smiled, but it was not a warm expression. "These things are difficult to predict, Captain. Perhaps weeks, perhaps months, perhaps longer." Amy stepped forward. "Your Majesty, are we prisoners?" "You are honored guests," the Empress replied. "The distinction is important, but we can't leave," Sam said. "Not at this time, no." The Empress returned to her throne. "Minister Kane will show you to your quarters. You will find them quite comfortable." As they were led away from the throne room, Jake caught Princess Zara's eye. She mouthed the words, "I'm sorry," before the doors closed between them. Their quarters were indeed comfortable. Each crew member had a suite of rooms larger than their entire ship. The furniture was beautiful, the food was excellent, and the windows offered spectacular views of the capital city. But the windows did not open, and there were guards outside their doors. "Well," Lisa said as they gathered in Jake's sitting room that evening, "this is not exactly what I expected when we saved a princess." "We're prisoners," Sam said bluntly. "Honored prisoners in golden cages, but prisoners all the same." Amy looked out the window at the lights of the city below. "Do you think we made a mistake? Saving her, I mean?" Jake thought about Princess Zara, wounded and unconscious in his medical bay. He thought about the rebel ships that would have killed her if they had not intervened. He thought about the gratitude in her eyes when she thanked them for saving her life. "No," he said finally, "we did the right thing. But I'm starting to understand that doing the right thing can be more complicated than I thought." Outside their windows, the imperial capital continued its perfectly ordered existence. Somewhere in the palace, Princess Zara was probably trying to convince her mother to let them go. Somewhere else, imperial advisors were probably discussing what to do with 4 humans who had disrupted the established order simply by acting like human beings. Jake settled into his comfortable chair and wondered what tomorrow would bring. One thing was certain: their simple life as cargo traders was truly over. What would replace it remained to be seen. 3 months passed in their comfortable prison. Jake and his crew had settled into a routine that felt almost normal, if they ignored the guards outside their doors and the fact that they could not leave the palace grounds. Their days were filled with activities designed to keep them busy and content. Amy worked with Imperial medical staff, sharing human techniques that proved surprisingly effective for treating certain alien conditions. The Imperial doctors were amazed by human adaptability and problem-solving in medical situations. Sam spent his time in the palace workshops, studying Imperial technology and sharing human engineering methods. He discovered that human approaches to fixing things were often simpler and more creative than the complex solutions favored by Imperial engineers. Lisa had access to flight simulators that let her practice with Imperial ship designs. She quickly mastered alien flight systems and impressed her instructors with her natural ability to adapt to different types of spacecraft. Jake spent most of his time in the palace library, learning about Imperial history and politics. The more he read, the better he understood why the Empress was keeping them here. The Empire was built on the idea that everyone had their proper place and role. Humans, by acting outside their expected role as simple traders, had created a problem that the Empire did not know how to solve. Princess Zara visited them regularly. These visits were the highlight of their week, though Jake could see that each meeting was hard for her. She felt responsible for their situation and guilty that her gratitude had trapped them. "Any news about when we might be able to leave?" Jake asked during one of her visits. They were sitting in his suite's living area, drinking tea that tasted almost like the coffee he missed from his ship. "Mother is still considering the situation," Princess Zara said carefully. "The court advisors have many opinions about what should be done." "What kind of opinions?" Amy asked. Princess Zara hesitated. "Some believe you should be rewarded and sent home. Others think you should be recruited into Imperial service. Still others consider you a potential threat that needs to be controlled." "A threat?" Lisa laughed. "We're 4 humans with an old cargo ship. How are we a threat to a galactic empire?" "You misunderstand the nature of the threat," Princess Zara said seriously. "It's not your weapons or your ship that worries them. It's your example," Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" "News of your rescue has spread throughout the Empire, despite efforts to control the story. Other humans in Imperial space have heard about 4 traders who saved a princess. They're starting to act differently." "Differently how?" Sam asked, more independently, more boldly. "Last week, a human cargo crew on the Rimworld stood up to corrupt officials who were demanding illegal payments. They said they were inspired by Captain Miller and his crew." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "And that's a problem?" "In a system built on hierarchy and obedience, yes," Princess Zara admitted. "The Empire functions because everyone stays in their assigned role. When people start acting outside those roles, even for good reasons, it threatens the stability of the entire system." Amy shook her head. "So we're prisoners because we might inspire other people to do the right thing?" "You're protected persons because the alternative might be worse," Princess Zara said quietly. That evening, Jake walked alone through his quarters, thinking about their situation. Through his window, he could see the lights of the Imperial capital stretching to the horizon. Somewhere out there, humans were living their lives, working their jobs, and apparently thinking about 4 people they had never met, who had once done something brave. The idea that their actions had inspired others should have made him proud. Instead, it made him worried. If the Empire saw human independence as a threat, what would happen to all those other humans when the Empire decided to act? His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on his door. He opened it to find Sam standing in the hallway looking nervous. "We need to talk," Sam said. "All of us. I found something." They gathered in Jake's living room. Sam had brought a small device that he placed on the coffee table. "What is that?" Lisa asked. "Signal scrambler," Sam said. "I built it from parts in the workshop. Should block any listening devices for a few minutes." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Why do we need to block listening devices?" "Because I've been monitoring palace communications," Sam said. "And I found something we need to know about." Amy leaned forward. "What kind of something?" Sam's expression was grim. "There's going to be another attempt on Princess Zara's life. Soon. Maybe in the next few days." "How do you know?" Jake asked. "I've been tracking unusual communication patterns in the palace security network. There's a group of officials who have been meeting secretly. They're coordinating something, and the princess is the target." Lisa stood up and began pacing. "We have to warn her." "Warn her of what exactly?" Sam asked. "I know something is being planned, but I don't know the details. I don't know who's involved beyond a few names. I don't even know when it will happen." "Why would anyone in the palace want to hurt her?" Amy asked. Jake thought about his conversations with Princess Zara over the past 3 months. He thought about her progressive ideas about the Empire and her belief that humans deserved more respect than they received. "Because she's changing," he said slowly. "Our rescue changed her perspective about humans and about how the Empire should work. Someone doesn't like that change. So what do we do?" Lisa asked. Jake looked at his crew. They were trapped in a palace, surrounded by guards, with no weapons and no way to contact the outside world. They had no official authority and no legal standing. If they tried to warn Imperial security about a plot, who would believe them? But Princess Zara had risked her own position to visit them and keep them informed about their situation. She had shown them kindness when she could have simply forgotten about them. She was in danger, and they were probably the only people who knew about it. "We protect her," Jake said simply. "How?" Sam asked. "We're prisoners, remember? Honored guests who can't leave their rooms without permission." "Then we get permission," Jake said. "Or we don't wait for it." Amy smiled for the first time in weeks. "I was wondering when you'd start sounding like our captain again." Are we really going to do this? Lisa asked. Break out of the Imperial Palace to save a princess from her own people. Jake thought about Princess Zara's smile when she thanked them for saving her life. He thought about the worry in her eyes every time she visited them. He thought about the debt they owed her for trying to help them, even when it put her in political danger. We saved her once, he said. Looks like we're going to have to do it again. Sam began gathering up his signal scrambler. I'll see what else I can find out about the timing and the people involved. I'll work on getting us access to the parts of the palace we're not supposed to visit, Amy said. And I'll figure out how to get us weapons if we need them, Lisa added. Jake nodded. And I'll try to get closer to Princess Zara without making it obvious what we're doing. As his crew prepared to leave, Jake looked out his window at the capital city again. 3 months ago, they had been simple cargo traders who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Now they were planning to break imperial law to save a princess from assassins who might include some of the most powerful people in the empire. He should have been terrified. Instead, he felt more like himself than he had in months. Some things were worth the risk no matter what the consequences might be. Princess Zara was one of those things. The empire was about to learn that humans could be very difficult to control when someone they cared about was in danger. The attack came 2 days later, during the Empress's weekly court session. Jake and his crew had spent those 2 days preparing as best they could. Sam had mapped the palace security systems. Amy had gained access to medical supplies that could serve as weapons, and Lisa had found routes through the palace that avoided the main guard posts. Jake had managed to arrange a meeting with Princess Zara under the pretense of discussing human culture for a report she was writing. When she arrived at his quarters, he wasted no time with pleasantries. Princess, you're in danger. There's going to be an assassination attempt, probably today. Her face went pale. How do you know this? My engineer has been monitoring palace communications. There's a conspiracy involving several court officials. We don't know all the details, but we know enough. Princess Zara sat down heavily in one of his chairs. I should have expected this. My mother has been considering new policies regarding human rights in the empire. Some officials see this as a dangerous precedent, and they blame you for influencing her. They blame you, she said quietly. And they blame me for bringing you here. If I were to die, it would be easy to claim that humans were responsible. It would justify harsh measures against your people throughout the empire. Jake felt anger building in his chest. So they want to kill you to hurt humans? They want to kill me to preserve the old order, Princess Zara corrected. Humans are just the excuse. An alarm suddenly echoed through the palace corridors. It was not the regular chime that marked the hour, but a harsh, urgent sound that Jake had never heard before. Security alert, Princess Zara said, standing quickly. Something's happening. Sam's voice came through the communication device Jake carried. Captain, there are armed intruders in the palace. They're heading for the throne room. Jake grabbed Princess Zara's arm. We need to get you somewhere safe. No, she said firmly. If there are intruders in the palace, my mother is in danger. I have to help her. Princess, this could be the assassination attempt we warned you about. Then, we stop it, she said with determination that reminded Jake why he had risked everything to save her in the first place. They left his quarters together, ignoring the protests of the guards outside his door. The palace corridors were filled with running security personnel and confused officials. In the distance, Jake could hear the sound of weapon fire. Amy met them at the first intersection, carrying a medical kit and several improvised weapons. The attack is focused on the throne room. Multiple teams of infiltrators, how many? Jake asked. At least a dozen, maybe more. They knew exactly how to get past the outer defenses. Lisa appeared from a side corridor, breathing hard. I've been monitoring security communications. These aren't outside infiltrators. They're using Imperial codes and equipment. This is an inside job. Princess Zara closed her eyes for a moment, and Jake could see her heart breaking. Members of the court are trying to kill my mother. We can still stop them, Jake said. But we need to move now. They made their way through the palace using the routes Lisa had mapped. The main corridors were chaos, with security forces running in all directions and officials hiding in side rooms. But the back passages were mostly empty. As they got closer to the throne room, the sounds of battle grew louder. Jake could hear the distinctive whine of Imperial energy weapons and the shouts of orders being given in several alien languages. There, Amy whispered as they reached a position where they could see the throne room entrance. The attackers have control of the main doors. Jake counted at least 8 figures in Imperial security uniforms positioned around the entrance. They were definitely not loyal guards. They were firing into the throne room rather than defending it. "We need to get inside," Princess Zara said. "There's a service entrance through the kitchens." "Princess," Jake said carefully, "if we do this, there's no going back. We'll be directly opposing members of the Imperial Court. Your mother might not thank us for the interference." "My mother is in danger," Princess Zara replied. "That's all that matters." They made their way to the service entrance, where Sam was waiting with a collection of tools and improvised weapons. "I've disabled the security locks," he reported. "But once we go through that door, every alarm in the palace will know where we are." "Do it," Jake ordered. The service door slid open, and they entered the throne room from behind the Empress's platform. The scene inside was chaotic. The loyal Imperial guards were pinned down behind overturned furniture, returning fire at the attackers who controlled the main entrance. Several bodies lay motionless on the polished floor. Empress Lyra was behind her throne, protected by the last few loyal guards. She was wounded but conscious, directing the defense with the calm authority of someone who had ruled an empire for 40 years. "Mother," Princess Zara called out as they reached the platform. The Empress looked up in shock. "Zara, how did you get here?" "The humans brought me," she said simply. Empress Lyra's eyes found Jake. "Captain Miller, I suppose I should not be surprised to find you in the middle of another crisis." "Your Majesty," Jake said, crouching behind the throne as energy bolts flew overhead. "We need to get you out of here." "I will not run from traitors in my own palace," the Empress said firmly. "Then we fight," Jake said. "But we need a plan." He looked around the throne room, studying the positions of both the attackers and defenders. The attackers controlled the main entrance and had superior numbers, but they were positioned for a siege, not for dealing with an attack from behind. "Sam, can you get to the security controls for this room? Give me 2 minutes and some cover fire. Lisa, Amy, can you help the Imperial guards coordinate their return fire?" "On it," Amy said, already moving toward the guards with her medical supplies. Jake turned to Princess Zara and her mother. "Your Majesty, I need you to do something that might seem like surrendering but isn't." "What do you have in mind, Captain?" "Call out to the attackers. Demand to know who leads them and what they want. Make them think you're ready to negotiate." The Empress smiled grimly. "You want me to distract them while you outflank them?" "Something like that." Empress Lyra stood up behind her throne, making herself visible to the attackers. "I am Empress Lyra of the Valdoran Empire," she called out in a voice that carried across the battle. "Who dares attack me in my own throne room?" The weapons fire slowed as the attackers focused on her. Jake could see Sam moving along the wall toward the security controls, using the distraction to stay hidden. "We are loyal citizens of the Empire," one of the attackers called back. "We act to preserve the natural order against those who would corrupt it with alien influences." "You mean humans?" Princess Zara said, stepping up beside her mother. "We mean the chaos that humans represent," the attacker replied. "Your friendship with these creatures has poisoned your judgment, Princess. The Empire will be stronger without your progressive corruptions." Jake felt a cold anger settle in his stomach. These people were willing to kill an innocent woman because she believed humans deserved basic rights. Sam reached the security controls and began working. Suddenly, the lights in the throne room went out, leaving only the emergency lighting. In the confusion, Jake and his crew moved. They had fought together before, and they moved like a unit. Lisa took the left flank, Amy went right, and Jake went straight up the middle. They were not soldiers, but they were humans, and humans fought dirty when people they cared about were in danger. The battle was brief but intense. The attackers were skilled, but they had not expected to face an attack from behind. More importantly, they had not expected to face humans who fought with the desperate creativity that came from protecting someone they cared about. When the lights came back on, the attackers were defeated. Some were dead, others wounded and captured. The threat to the Empress and her daughter was over. Empress Lyra surveyed the throne room, taking in the damage and the cost of the battle. Then she looked at Jake and his crew, who stood breathing hard among the debris of the fight. "Captain Miller," she said slowly, "you and your crew have once again saved my daughter's life, and this time you have saved mine as well. It was the right thing to do, Your Majesty." The Empress was quiet for a long moment. "Yes," she said finally, "it was. And I believe I am beginning to understand what that means." Over the following weeks, everything changed. The conspiracy against the royal family was exposed, and those responsible were removed from their positions. More importantly, Empress Lyra began to reconsider the Empire's policies toward humans and other species that had been considered lesser. Jake and his crew were given their freedom, along with a new ship to replace their old cargo hauler, but more than that, they were offered positions as special advisors to the Imperial Court, helping to bridge the gap between human perspectives and Imperial policies. "What do you think?" Princess Zara asked Jake as they stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. "Will you stay and help us build a better empire?" Jake looked out at the lights of the city, thinking about all the humans living and working throughout Imperial space. "For a while," he said, "but not forever. We're traders, not politicians. But you're also heroes," she said, "and sometimes heroes have to do more than they planned." Jake smiled. "Sometimes they do, but sometimes the best thing a hero